All right, this is day 78. A new daily game of chess every day. With the black pieces today. Knight comes out to f3. A very flexible opening. We'll start with c6 to suggest that we are playing the Slav or the caro-kann. Pawns out. Seems wise here. Yep. We'll play d5. Shifting fully into the caro. Bishop out to g4 shortly. They play sort of a variation on the advance, expecting to see d4 shortly after this. This is not an unusual position to be in. The move order is a little bit strange, but nothing too bad to see. Adjust my microphone just a little bit. I seem to be getting ever so slightly into the red. There we go. We'll pull that down 1 decibel. Looks a little bit better. Perhaps our opponent is not familiar with caro-kann setups. Maybe they're hoping to move their knight out. Here we go. Go ahead and close up our center. Now we're firmly in the caro-kann. This is familiar territory. Nothing to worry about here. So how do we react to the advance? We could get, let's see, they get their dark squared bishop out a little bit in front of their king. We could play c5 immediately, attacking their center. Yeah, I think we do that. Our other option is bishop to d7. I'm sorry, knight to d7, preparing this push a little bit and protecting our king. But we have, actually, yeah, maybe we play bishop to d7 or knight to d7 first. Then we can push this pawn. Since they've placed their bishop in front of their queen, they have 1 fewer defender, and they're going to have a hard time adding defenders to this piece, which is kind of nice for us. Ooh, they play b4. Very interesting. I think perhaps we can get our queen out to b3 and take this pawn for free. Looks pretty appealing. They may need to play c3 shortly here. Let's go ahead and get our queen out. Of course, we cannot push yet because they will take, but I believe we can take here with our bishop. They don't have a way to add another defender to this pawn. Well, I guess they can push c3. And if they push c3, I think... Oh, they push... That's interesting. They push all the way to c4. So what to do here? What to do here? We could take... we take back with check. That looks pretty appealing. Ooh, this looks good. If we trade here, our queen can take on d4, no problem. And we're threatening both this pawn on e5 and their rook on a1. Yeah, I don't see why we wouldn't go for that. Let's go ahead and make this trade. And then take that pawn. Yeah, there we go. Bishop out. I think we have queen takes another pawn. Oh no, that's guarded by their light squared bishop, so we wouldn't be able to do that. So bishop out looks decent here. I suppose we could bring our bishop out, and that loses the bishop, which of course I don't love. I don't mind queen back to b6. If pawn pushes, then queen to c7, attacking this pawn. Yep. So as discussed, we'll drop back to b6. Expecting to see pawn push. Pawn takes, we can simply take back. Now we can take this pawn, and then that's a nice, very forcing trade. And I don't see a way. I guess they can put their knight in front. Yep, they push. We will drop further back. Nothing to worry about here. And your position is very strong. We'll develop modestly, I think, knight out to f5 like this. I mean, we could also, I guess, come out like this because their dark squared bishop isn't staring down h6. I don't mind this, and if for some reason we need to move our dark squared bishop, that permits us to do that. We could also take here if we wanted to. They take, we take back with check. Ooh, actually, that looks very dangerous. Takes with check. They block it, perhaps with their bishop, or perhaps with their queen. Either way, we get to pick up their rook. So let's go ahead and do that. This is also forcing because we're hitting their queen. It's sort of an added advantage guarding this f7 pawn. So now we're up 2 pawns and potentially a rook in very short order. If they don't want to do this, which is probably the right idea, where does their queen move to? Here, I don't know. But because they push their pawn, we're able to take on c5. Okay. I guess now they have 2 attackers on this piece. We only have 1 defender. Can't do this because their pawn takes. Is there anything with just taking this pawn outright? Very interesting. If we take, presumably they take like this. We can come out with check. And then they have knight out to block it, guarded by 2 pieces. Okay, so that doesn't work out. We have this check available to us, but they just take our knight, I believe. So that doesn't work. I think really f6 is the only way we can add a defender to this piece. I don't mind that right now. Obviously, I'd rather not. But I think we don't want to lose a piece. I guess we are up 2 pawns. So we could just give up the piece and take another pawn as compensation. Let's play f6. Or f6, they have this queen to g6 check, but I mean that loses their queen, so I don't think they can do anything with that. f6 it is. Sort of a weakening move. I don't love it. But that should defend our knight for the time being. And if their queen moves away from this diagonal, then we can move our knight. And I think that's very appealing. Like if they push f4, then we can safely move our knight away, maybe back to d7. Okay, they move their queen, targeting our weak e6 pawn. That would be a very dangerous idea. How can we defend it? I guess we could come out with check. I don't think that accomplishes anything. Queen over to d7, or Queen to e7, potentially if they get their light squared bishop out, and they get castled, and they get their rook out here, that could be dangerous. Is there any other way to defend this piece? Could move our king up to e7 or king up to d7. They still have their light squared bishop, and then this looks sort of dangerous, so I don't think I want to move our king. Can't quite get a rook over there in time. Yeah, so I think we have a few ways to defend this piece. Wonder about queen to queen to f7. They can get their light squared bishop out and skewer, which of course looks very bad. I don't want to allow that. So maybe just queen to d7, protecting this piece. Well, they're also going to take here. Take back. We could play knight to e7 so that move doesn't come with check. I don't think that does anything for us. Queen to f7 runs into that pin. Queen to e7. Queen to e7 takes. Queen to h5 check. And then we block it with our queen. Oh, so they can ruin castling rights for us. We could castle so that move does not come with check. No, that move would still come with check, wouldn't it? Because our king would be on c8 and queen takes on e6. Comes with check. Okay, so I think, yeah, queen to e7 is what I'm going to go for. And then I would like to move our knight out of the way as soon as possible. Knight back to g6. Not sure yet. Position is a little bit fraught, I would say. I'm not super worried about these pawns. If they take, we take back. If they push, we take and open up the A file. Yeah, they take. We will take back. It's looking like we're going to castle kingside now, if we are permitted to castle. So I guess queen, we do have pawn to g6. They can pick up our hanging pawn. Yeah, and then we'll get castled. Okay. Not the end of the world, but sort of a challenging position to be in. We are up 2 pawns, though. Check, push, takes. We could castle. I mean, their queen will be staring down into this b8 square, which is kind of gross. Oh, they just threaten the pawn outright. Okay, that's one way to do it. We could take here, offering a queen trade. If they come down, then we have check. And then this is guarded by their queen, so that doesn't really do anything for us. We could push this pawn and sort of safeguard it. Yeah, I think that looks really good, actually. We push. Maybe knight comes out to f6. If they want to threaten it. And then if they take, we take back, and we have this nice e4 outpost for our knight. Very unusual for the caro, but it seems like a nice place to have a knight. And we preserve our extra pawn. Go get castled. I guess castling, We have these weak light squares here, and then we have these weak dark squares here. So castling any which way looks a little bit gross. Fortunately, they have to sort of wiggle their bishop out, and in the meantime, we'll be able to play knight to f6. Let's see. So evaluating here, taking this pawn versus developing a piece. We take, the trade is very favorable, I would say, because we're up yet another pawn and we get the queens off the board. We can move into an endgame. And if they don't take, I guess we're not threatening their knight, but we're threatening to pin their knight, which is kind of a nice tactic. But I think I would like to get more pieces into the game first. I'm not super worried about this bishop coming out. So let's get our own knight developed. And I guess we could come out here, but I don't think that does anything for us. And then takes, permits castling kingside, and the rook is on the open F file, or semi-open F file. So we have dangerous ideas pretty much immediately. All right, I like this well enough. We're getting our pieces developed. Okay, so they move their knight, adding another defender to the c5 pawn, so we can no longer take it outright. Move our knight up here. Queen might threaten something, and then we can move our knight back to e5. It's unprotected. Okay, no, I don't like moving our knight. Could push b6. Could castle long. Push here, takes knight over here. Could push b6 to threaten this pawn. If they take, we take back. Yeah, that looks pretty good. Yeah. I guess if we push, then this pawn loses its defender and they can take. Which, of course, I don't like very much. Could move our queen over to d7, permitting our dark squared bishop to come out. Queen to d7, bishop to e7, and then castles. And then with our rook on f8, we could do like knight out to g4, threatening rook takes on f2. That looks powerful. Okay. Let's figure out how to do that. So it's queen to d7 first. They want to come down, we can take. Bishop to e7, and then we castle. These squares are vulnerable for our king right now, but this one is guarded by our knight, which is very nice. I'm not worried about, like, bishop comes down to h5. I think we will have time to get castled. Bishop to e7, castle, knight out to g4. That's the plan right now. I think our opponent needs to get some pieces developed. They might get castled themselves. They really only have the one square for their light squared bishop, which is really nice for us. Okay, they push. If we take, I suppose they can take back with their knight, and then they're forking our queen and our rook. So let's not do anything too hasty. Let's just continue with our plan. Castles, and then knight out. Looking very dangerous. Boop, boo. They take. Very interesting. So we can Now this spot is open for their knight. So if we take, knight comes down. Where does our queen go? I guess queen goes to like c7. Or perhaps c8, I think looks pretty. No, c8 will also run into their knight. So I think c7 looks maybe the most appealing. But we certainly need to move one of these pieces, and I think the best thing to do is rook takes. Knight comes down, then we can move our queen. Yeah. Nice forcing idea from our opponent. I think that's a very clever plan. We could also move our queen to c7, threatening, if their knight ever moves, to come out to a5. That potentially drops our weak e6 pawn, but they don't have any way to attack it right now. I guess they have like, yeah, so I think, so we'll watch out for queen to h3, and then we can find a way to protect this pawn. They push another pawn. It's protected by their knight. I think we move forward with our plan. I guess another option would be rook up here, permitting bishop takes on c5. That looks forcing. Maybe a good idea to do that now before they push, because if they push, their rook is now guarding that square. So let's stop this piece in its tracks. Their knight is not threatening to go anywhere distasteful. So I think we can freeze this pawn and then take their pawn. That pawn isn't going anywhere. We can take it at our leisure. We'll go and get castled first, get our king to safety. So I don't like that they are sort of coming down the queen side to threaten our king. Still no good squares for their bishop to go to. We have this very imposing pawn structure, e4, d5, c6, b7. Okay, they add a defender to this pawn. We can move forward with our plan to get castled. Knight out, and then takes on f2. Maybe not an option anymore. So here simply drops the knight. Okay. What can we do about that? We could push h5 to create an outpost for a knight that further weakens our king. But I think we'll be able to trade more pieces off the board. But maybe we wait until they castle. We can make some sort of waiting move. King to h8 wouldn't do it. Rook to f7 maybe, and allow them to get castled, and then we push h5, knight up. And then we have like queen takes on h2. Looks pretty good. I think this is going to be our waiting move, actually. Yeah. And if they want to trade, that is fine by me. We have these nice advanced pawns. Our king is reasonably safe. Oh, that's interesting. So they push, preventing our knight from coming up altogether. We could push to h4, sort of freezing that into place. We could do something like... Yeah, if we can assemble this battery somehow. So queen bishop. We would need to get rid of this pawn, but then once they castle, if they castle, then we have a very dangerous checkmating threat. So maybe that starts with queen to e5. Are we dropping defensive anything? Their knight still can't go anywhere. I guess their knight could come to... No, their knight can't come to d7 either because our knight guards that square. So we'll just need to be very careful of their advanced knight, but I think queen to e5 looks decent. Threatening to come out here. Threatening to come here with check. We could come to, I guess, like, come out here and then come down here. Then we're adding another attacker to this pawn. It's a little bit convoluted, but there's not a way that our opponent could add another attacker to that pawn. I guess takes up like that, and then we're threatening checkmate. But then I think they just have g3. And this is all assuming that they castle, which they may well not castle. Getting to the point where the position is a little bit frozen. I guess we could drop our bishop back to d8, threatening to bring it up to c7, or just threatening to take the knight outright. And then they lose another pawn, so if we take, they take back, and then we pick up this pawn here with more nasty ideas to follow. Ooh, they push their other pawn. Very interesting. Maybe takes. Maybe they're not going to castle kingside. I think the danger of taking here takes... if they take, we've opened up the H file for attacking, and then something like queen to H3, queen to H8 is checkmate, and I would rather not entertain that. So I think maybe the move here is to push and keep this file nice and closed. And if they want to come down, we can relocate our knight to H7, let's say. Or, I mean, they're not really threatening to take here because then they'll have doubled up pawns on the H file, really impeding any sort of attack that they want to do. So maybe we just move forward with our plan to play bishop to d8. Yeah, I like that. Let's do that. Takes. We're up another pawn. And then sort of, this is some nastiness that I'm sure our opponent would like to avoid. Supported by our queen over here. I guess they could drop their knight back to c8. But then we have this, which I guess doesn't do anything. Okay, so they threaten our knight. So I think we need to take their knight, because my concern is that if their knight comes to d7, we don't have any way to defend that, and our queen is sort of needs to find a place to go in a hurry. So I think we take here. They can, I guess if they take back, then we have, no, we don't have check. Don't quite have check, but I think, yeah, we do need to take here first. Expecting to see Takes back. And then we can find a new home for a knight, I think on... This h7 runs into push, and then we can just move it back. That's not too bad. They take. Okay, now we need to move our knight out of the action. Back to h7. And then we'll be able to take this pawn shortly, unless they want to reinforce it. Still up 2 pawns. Maybe looking for a way to orchestrate a queen trade pretty soon here. Although I guess we have queen over to g5 looks pretty forcing. Supported by our knight. And if they move their queen, I guess they could move their queen to like c3, and then we wouldn't be able to take their rook. Their queen moves out of the way. Do we have this like rook sacrifice? Rook takes on f2. Most likely king takes. No, I don't think we have anything else there. We don't have a good way to check the king without running into their queen. If their queen moves like all the way over here, maybe. See what our opponent comes up with. Oh, our opponent's clock is missing. See if I can fix that. Chess online for free. This one, there we go. Opponent has about 14.5 minutes on the clock. Sorry about that. They take our pawn. All right. Sort of threatening a mating net here. Looks a little bit dangerous. We could take their pawn and then threaten to come up here with check, supported by a couple of our pieces. That looks pretty dangerous. If we take... oh yeah, and the added advantage, or no, their light squared bishop would be guarding that square. We take this pawn for free. Yeah, I think maybe we take here. So are they threatening to go anywhere? I guess they're sort of threatening to go to g6. Yeah, maybe we should take this pawn. That's probably the move. Trade a pawn for a pawn. We are 2 pawns up. We're gradually trading pieces off the board. I guess here takes and then rook takes is forcing for their queen. Their queen will have to move somewhere. And we have potential dangerous activities to follow. Maybe queen, yeah, their queen can't really go anywhere. Maybe back to e2. They push a pawn. Okay, so I think we can move forward with our plan up here with check. They can't take with their queen because we have 2 less valuable pieces guarding it, so I think they probably take with their bishop. Rook takes, and then queen has to move somewhere. Let's take a brief moment and try to determine where the queen might go. So with our rook there, all these squares will be no good. This is guarded by our queen. G5 is a possibility. That's since it's guarded by their pawn, I guess we would do a queen trade there. This is guarded by our queen. This is guarded by our rook. So they don't have a lot of options to go to. I think most likely if we do this, their queen will move back to one of these squares, and we'll be able to pick up this pawn as well. And that's looking pretty good to me. Yeah, so let's move up with check. And if they want to move their queen down to g5, I'm happy to do a queen trade now that we'll be up, what, 3 pawns at that point? Yeah, and then I think it'll be a pretty quick conversion after that. They take, we take, as discussed. No checks available to our opponent. Sort of our weirdly safe king here, even though it just has one pawn in front of it. Of all the pawns we could have given away, we've given away 2 pawns so far. I think our a7 pawn we traded off, and our h7 pawn. And then our f pawn is over here all the way on e4. Not my favorite pawns to have given away. I feel like we have a pretty secure position. I guess if queen... No, we don't have this because that's guarded by their rook. It's a shame. I wonder if queen down... that doesn't do anything. No. Just blunders more pieces. So I think a queen trade would be in our favor because we're up pawns at this point, and we can orchestrate a trade of the remaining pieces somehow. Maybe up and over like this. Looks decent. Up, and then honestly threatening this piece also looks pretty good. We will... Okay, queen moves back. We'll go ahead and take this pawn as discussed. And then we have, we can force a trade of rooks. Force a trade of rooks, and then maybe, like, if they take, then we take, their king has to move out of the way, and then we win their other rook as well. And then the game will proceed very quickly from there. So we have this dangerous tactical idea of rook up. And I guess if they don't respond, if they don't take, then we have the very forcing queen to c2 check, and if they move here, I think that's checkmate. So unless our opponent responds precisely, I think maybe king to f2 might be a good move here, followed by king to g2. They're going to lose a rook and maybe the game. So up, takes with check. King moves to d2. Queen can come up to, what is this, c3. And then valid moves for their king are king to d1. And then I think rook over to d3 wins the queen because they have to take, and we'll take back. Okay, so yeah, not looking good for our opponent. It may not be clear yet, but I think we might see a resignation soon unless they have some fabulous defensive resource that I am unaware of, but I don't see what that would be. I think king like this would probably be the most resilient, and that allows us to trade off one piece, but not the others. Let's see if our opponent finds it. Ooh, queen to c2, threatening our rook. I don't think that's going to do it because it doesn't guard the a1 square. So I think we can move forward with our plan. Rook to a1. The calculus changes a little bit. We can't come out to c3 anymore because the queen guards that square. But I think we still have the potential to... Well, we're certainly trading off a piece. If they decide to take here, I think that's a poor decision. But if they can do anything else, and I think that would be a little bit better for our opponent. It's still very forcing. And if they want to try to use the king as a defender, I think we have queen out to... Ooh, queen out to d4, and then queen takes on f2. Looks very dangerous. This is sort of the portion of the game. Oh, they get their king out of the way. Very cool. So do we want to trade off this piece first? Or do we have any checks available to us? I don't think we do. And if we try to do something like this and then this to force a check, they can take our rook. So I think we'll trade off this piece first. Queen takes or rook takes. I think rook takes is probably nice. But then we have queen over to h2, forking their h4. Okay, no, so we don't have that. All right. Very exciting. So we're rapidly approaching an endgame. We could offer a trade of queens that, if they don't accept it, will end in disaster, I think, in pretty short order. Could also move our rook out like this to start to threaten checkmate activities, maybe get our queen out. What if we get our queen out first to threaten, like, queen to d3? Yeah, let's do that. We're threatening queen to d3. We're threatening queen takes on f2. A couple of nice ideas here. I don't see a way that they can defend both. Excuse me. And our opponent is running out of time. Sort of the portion of the game where we're putting the pressure onto our opponent, and while they are sort of laboring over the move they're going to make, we have time to develop increasingly aggressive attacking ideas, because we're also targeting this pawn too. But actually I sort of like having that pawn on b6, because this pawn on b7 is a big weakness in our position, and without that pawn, it would be very easy to attack and just sort of hoover up this nice defensive pawn structure that we have, which really we're relying quite a lot on to defend our king. Our king is on a light square along with all these pawns, and it's, I think, hard for our opponent to get into our position. Maybe they come over like this, but that takes, 100 moves. Check available to us. Check available to us. Because if we are able to take here, do they go anywhere in particular? These are blocked off. These will be blocked off. This will be blocked off. So king to d1. Rook over to d3, I think, is checkmate. Their escape square would be c1, but it's covered by their queen. Yeah, it's not looking very good for our opponent. Just in terms of having escape squares, I think we'll be able to press this attack fairly effectively. Queen moves, offering a trade of queens. I don't think that stops queen takes on f2. Let's take a look real quick. Where does their king go? King can't take the queen. Nope. King down to... oh, here we go. King down to d1. Rook over to d3. Pinning the queen to the king. There we go. Yeah. King to d1, pin, queen takes, pawn takes, and we've won their queen. And then I wouldn't be surprised if we saw a resignation, or I don't know if our opponent will want to fight this out. Critical that this is a pin. Critical that our rook is defended. Otherwise, if it wasn't a pin, they would be able to take our queen, which is hanging. They might try for counterplay, I guess, but they don't really have any. Both of these just lose the rook outright. I guess too we have like the, I think, exceptionally mean queen to f3. Yeah, our opponent resigns. Cool. That was a well fought game. I thought our opponent played very well. We are rapidly approaching 1200. Sort of a strange winning streak that we've had. Yeah, let's switch to the analysis board. Let's switch to the analysis board. There we go. Decent game. Ready, opening, caro-kann, they push. And now we have sort of a classic advanced caro. Nothing crazy here. I normally like the knight on c3 rather than f3. That does deprive you of being able to push the pawn to c3. But I think your attacking opportunities are really nice as white. Queen comes out, already a slight advantage for black. Yeah, I think c4 was a mistake here. I think c3 would have been a lot stronger, supporting this very like imposing pawn chain that they have, cramping our queen side, which is unusual for the caro. We take, they take back, we win this pawn. We drop back. Oh, that's interesting. Oh, I see. So if takes, then we have the chance to win their rook, and that would have been very nice. So should have kept an eye on that pin. I thought because there was this pawn on c4 that wouldn't work out, and we wouldn't be able to take their knight back, but we would have been able to pick up their rook. Oh well, still showing an advantage for black. We take, they move. F6 was the right move. The only way to reinforce our knight with the defense that it needed. And we missed an opportunity to capture free pawn. Oh, that's interesting. So I wonder, we take here, why can't they take our pawn? I guess after king to f8, they don't have any further checks that they can give without losing their queen. And it looks like a pretty nasty position for white. Kick away their bishop. Yeah. Look at that. Yeah, and they just have to give up the piece, I guess. Okay, cool. So I shouldn't have been too afraid of queen takes e6. I really didn't want to lose castling rights, but you know, there you have it. Castling rights were not that important. Let's see, anything else crazy happen in this game? Knight to b6 was good. Queen to c7, fine. Castles is excellent. That doesn't seem right. Takes is the best. Takes. Oh, I see. And then we can take here. Oh, that would have been nasty. Oh, that's a neat tactic that I missed. So they have, yeah, they have a defender on this knight. So we can distract, or it's sort of like, it's both a piece trade and distracting the defender. So we can take, they take back, and now that the pawn is no longer guarding this knight, we pick up the knight for free. And then takes probably with check is probably best. Yeah, and then we trade queens, and I guess we're not up a piece, we're just up another pawn. Yeah, because we sacrificed our bishop. Okay, that makes sense. Engine screaming at me to play that move. Trade off another piece. Knight comes out of the way. This nice check. They trade, we trade. Queen drops back. Queen to g5 was stronger, offering the queen trade. Take a pawn. Oh, that's interesting. Yeah, so rook to c4 was also good here. But we trade pieces. Queen to d2 was a mistake. We were able to force checkmate. We have mate in 2. Oh, I guess this was a little bit more expedient. And then how does checkmate follow here? What is the next move? Oh, queen takes queen. Checkmate. Picking up their queen in the bargain. Wow. So that was a blunder. King to d1 is fine. d3 is best. And then we have mate in 4. Okay, so I missed checkmate. That's a nice idea. A very pretty checkmate that I missed. Like that. Well, maybe I'll get it next time. I should do some more puzzles. All right, I'm going to call it here. Have a good one, y'all.